After many years, I still remember how I felt when I first saw the F-117 on TV. It was probably like seeing alien zenith technology. The monstrous shape alone was enough to dazzle people. It was 198X, and stealth technology was far less common than it is today. But the F-117's aura came to a screeching halt in 1999, when the NATO-bombed Federal Republic of Yugoslavia used its old missile defense system to shoot down an F-117, giving the first glimpse of the deified aircraft's true nature. It wasn't as bad as the MiG-25, but stealth technology has been pushed down from the altar since that day. What really happened over Belgrade on that day over 20 years ago? Speaking of which, the beginnings of stealth technology were actually in the Soviet Union, back in the early 1970s. Soviet mathematician Peter Ufintsev published a technical paper arguing that through mathematical formulas, it was entirely possible to calculate how electromagnetic waves reflect off of an object, and that by using a specific form factor, a large object could be made to appear small on radar. I do not know what this buddy offended what people and things. This piece of dry goods the Soviet Union high-level froze did not take seriously, but also confused to let it translated into English published in the international community. The results were Lockheed engineers pick up the slack. They integrated these formulas into the advanced computer software, began to study the shape of the aircraft, how to be able to not be detected by the radar, the formal lighting of the modern stealth technology of the science and technology tree. So imagine Davrich's chagrin when he first learned of the F-117. But the shape of the F-117, the granddaddy of stealth airplanes, was actually the result of a compromise at a time when even the most powerful supercomputers couldn't handle the complex calculations associated with curved surfaces, which made the airplane's operational performance seriously unbalanced. It had unrivaled stealth at certain angles. Even the F-22, its successor, was not as good as the F-117. However, for the sake of stealth, maneuverability, speed, range, perception and firepower are all very low, with a maximum speed of only Mach 0.9, an operational radius of less than 1,000 kilometers, and even a single horizontal roll can break a wing. In order to reduce the propagation of electromagnetic waves, even the fire control radar are not installed. All the skills are point in stealth. It was this paranoia that allowed the F-117 to move comfortably in and out of missile-laden Baghdad in the Gulf, destroying 40% of the total number of targets of the multinational force without even losing a piece of paint on itself. It is also because of this paranoia that it was caught in the crossfire over the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia. On the evening of March 27, 1999, Lieutenant Colonel Dale Zelko flew his Vega 31, along with 3 other F-117s, from Italy in the darkness of the night on a bombing mission to Belgrade. Because of the weather, the EA-6B Prowler electronic warfare aircraft that was scheduled to accompany them did not. Although there was no electronic fighter protection, Lieutenant Colonel Zelko was still in a relaxed mood. As a veteran of Operation Desert Storm, he had full confidence in the stealth fighter. The 4 F-117s began to split up to find their respective targets after entering the FRY, and at 7:45 p.m., Lieutenant Colonel Zelko began to lower his altitude, locked onto his target, opened the bomb bay doors, and dropped 2 900-kilogram laser-guided bombs on the power plant below. Lieutenant Colonel Zelko watched as the bombs hit their targets squarely. Just as this F-117 finished its turn, Zelko suddenly noticed 2 bright lights in the night sky heading towards him. Although his plane was equipped with a radar warning receiver, all the antennas on the fuselage retracted in order to be stealthy, so no warning sounds went off, and with the maneuvering ability of the F-117, when it had been possible to visually see the missiles incoming, all Zelko could do was silently pray. The first missile tore through the clouds and came at the slow F-117 at over 3 times the speed of sound. Zelko's hair stood on end, and all he could do was close his eyes and wait for the judgment. But to his surprise, the missile passed him by, and the F-117 was only disturbed by the surge from the missile's high-speed pass. Zelko broke out in a cold sweat and opened his eyes in disbelief. But just then another missile followed, and this time his luck really ran out. The second missile did not directly hit Zelko's F-117, but blew up on his left wing. But the combat sections of Soviet-made missiles have always been large and round, and the violent explosion directly sent the F-117 tumbling violently, so that even a KC-135 refueling plane high in the sky saw the fire in the distance. Inside the cockpit, Zelko was pressed against the seat by over 7 gs of gravity, and his body was almost thrown out of the harness. In the heat of the moment, he took the risk of pulling the handle of the ejection seat, and as a series of exploding bolts blew away, the cockpit cover was successfully separated, and Zelko was miraculously ejected from the cabin. Under the parachute, he looked at the feet of the dark earth. How did not want to understand? Man, I am also a long time in the field of stealth fighters, old driver. Today is not to fly the wrong plane, at the moment, not far away. Lieutenant Colonel Zoltan Dani of the Yugoslav Federation had mixed feelings. Zelko's F-117 hadn't just crashed and exploded into a ball of fire in the middle of the night, and Dani was a little unsure if his missiles had achieved any effect or not, as he watched the signal on his radar screen disappear completely. Little did he know that his actions tonight were destined to have a profound effect on the future of military aviation. As the commander of the 3rd Battalion of the 250th Missile Brigade, Dani had long been gnashing his teeth at the US stealth aircraft, and had been doing his homework on hunting the F-117. As a technical stream officer, Dani did not do it brute force. He went through all the information he could find on stealth technology, and after linking theory to practice, he found that although the F-117 was difficult to capture, it was by no means completely stealthy, and could still be captured in a dive, a turn, and when dropping bombs. However, the S-125 Never SAM-3 surface-to-air missile system equipped by the FRY is still an old-fashioned equipment designed in the 1950s, which, in addition to the quadruple 5B-27 missiles, consists of the P-15 early warning radar, the Senior 125 fire control radar, and the PRV-11 altimetry radar. Not to mention the fire control radar to guide the missile problem. Just one of the P-15 early warning radar let a person despair. In the face of F-117, this goods is a completely blind. Even if the people flew to the top of the head is still indifferent. Using such a pile of broken metal, even if Dani can again, is also useless. But people who want to do something are never intimidated by difficulties. Since the P-15 wasn't working, Dani looked around and found a set of P-18 radars. NATO has a funny nickname for the P-18, spoonframe, and it's an old one, but it's old in the right way. When it's operating at its lowest frequency, the VHF band is just below the UHF band captured by NATO's HAM anti-radiation missiles, which can not only avoid the F-16, which hunts around the FRY radar, but also capture the trail of the F-117. Originally, the F-117 was aiming for a new type of radar for the future battlefield. Who knew that someone would bring out a radar from the 1960s? Although the P-18 at least solved the problem of being able to see, but in front of the US Army's electronic warfare planes can only dry eyes, good death. Today's Elko they are so crazy. Not only did not bring electronic warfare planes dared to come out to sneak attack, but also often take the route has not been changed in any way. And the most terrible thing is that, when Zelko took off from Italy's Aviano airbase, the Serbian agents immediately notified of the ambush of the missile force. Based on the F-117's flight speed, Dani's 3rd Air Defense Battalion turned on the P-18 radar at exactly 1950. Unsurprisingly, the F-117 appeared on the screen of the P-18's early warning radar, but the fire control radar next to it was silent and did not respond in the slightest, visible but unable to lock on, and it looked like the hard-earned fighter was about to slip away. In the face of continuous anti-radiation attacks by NATO fighters, the air defense forces of the FRY in fact, the pressure is particularly great. Once the anti-radiation missiles are stared at, in the twinkling of an eye is extinction, so each radar start scanning can never be more than 20 seconds. And 2 consecutive starts must be transferred to the position, in order to shorten the time to pack. Dani even put a quadruple load of missiles, and changed it to a double. Dani's P-18 radar immediately scanned the sky using fire control radar after first picking up the direction of the F-117's flight. 20 seconds passed and the aging Senior 125 fire control radar saw nothing and had to order a shutdown of the system. After a while, Dani ordered the system to be activated again, and as the minutes ticked by, the fire control radar still found nothing. 2 chances had been used up, and it looked like this chance to shoot down the stealth airplane had gone down the drain. But word from agents behind enemy lines that the F-117 had no escorting fighters made Dani decide to take a chance and try it again, and he gambled on everyone's lives by ordering another 20-second scan. Just then, Zelko began to hold the scene. He piloted the F-117 just began to dive to drop bombs, and then turn. A series of maneuvers, coupled with the bomb bay doors open, so that the stealth aircraft briefly revealed a break. Senior 125 fire control radar on the ensuing point of light lit up. The 2 5B-27 solid fuel missiles whistled into the sky, a generation of myths, and thus fell, immediately after parachuting to the ground. Zelko hid in a ditch 300 meters away, smearing dirt all over his face as camouflage while activating his locator system and waiting for a search plane. Meanwhile, Serbian soldiers spotted the wreckage of the plane and immediately realized that they had just shot down a legendary stealth aircraft, immediately organizing their forces and searching for the pilot. 8 hours after the ejection jump, Zelko's survival radio received a call message. Less than 30 minutes later, an MH-60 and 2 MH-53 helicopters approached Zelko and managed to pick him up before the Serbian helicopters arrived. Shooting down the F-117 gave the Confederacy a publicity boost worthy of a big book, and embarrassed NATO Air Command. The fact that an antiquated Soviet-era air defense missile battalion was able to shoot down a stealth aircraft was a real slap in the face. But in all honesty, although this victory could not be separated from the efforts of the Danny commander, but the overconfidence of the US military, poor mission planning, is the main reason. After all, the confrontation of the system is never a particular weapon can determine victory or defeat. Interestingly, Lieutenant Colonel Daney, who shot down the F-117, and Lieutenant Colonel Zelko, who was shot down, were both promoted to colonel, and the two men met again in 2011, when Zelko had retired from the military and Daney had opened a bakery. More interestingly, or ironically, the two former enemies became friends.